Look, let's be honest, we all like getting things for free. It's in our nature. And when it comes to movies, most of us have, at one time or another, acquired a movie by means which weren't exactly legal. But there is a way to get movies for free where you aren't going to have that burden of guilt. So we're living through rough times and we don't need the extra crap, so why don't we take a look at the world of public domain movies. I've got 5 recommendations for you. I'll explain what public domain movies are and why I think you should enjoy these 5 movies in particular. So let's get started. So what exactly is a public domain movie? Well, in some ways they're the neglected orphan children of cinema. They're unowned and unloved. They're movies that for a number of reasons are no longer in copyright. The people and the companies that made these movies no longer own the rights. So how does this happen? Well, I'll keep it simple because American copyright law is a Frankenstein's monster of legislation patched together from different jurisdictions. Movies made before 1925 are in the public domain, though some people are trying to change that. This date moves forward a year every year, so in 2021, movies from 1926 go into public domain. In 2022, it's 1927, which is when it gets interesting because that's when sound films were first made.
Wait a minute, you ain't heard nothing yet.
And many sound films are going to start dropping into the public domain, including early Oscar winners like Wings. Before 1988, movies had to have their copyright renewed every 28 years. Movies made in or before 1960 are included in this rule. If the company that made them no longer existed or wasn't able to renew the copyright, a movie could fall out of copyright and into the public domain. Before 1978, if a movie accidentally didn't include a copyright notice on the screen, or if it was a flawed notice, like this one for the new Three Stooges cartoon series, which has the copyright symbol but no claiming company, it was public domain. So what does public domain mean for you? It means you can download and copy movies in the public domain with no legal repercussions. YouTube has a lot of copies of public domain movies. You may well find the movies I'm about to talk about on YouTube using prints of varying quality. You may need to search around a little bit to find a good one. I picked 5 of the best for you to enjoy. They're all from the 1940s, 1950s and 1960s. They're all in black and white and they're all really good. This one's a little film noir gem. It was written by Martin Goldsmith and directed by Edgar G. Ulmer, and it runs a tight 68 minutes. A neurotic piano player, Al, played by Tom Neal, is hitchhiking across America to reunite with his girlfriend Sue, a nightclub singer who has been successful in Hollywood. In Arizona, Al is picked up by a gambler called Haskell, who's traveling to California, and that's where fate decides to make Al its soccer ball. Everything that can go wrong, every bad decision Al can possibly make is made, and his life spirals downwards from there. Along the way, he meets a hard-boiled woman called Vera, played brilliantly by Anne Savage, and she is to Al's life what that big stone ball was to Indiana Jones if the stone ball was made of barbed wire and Indiana Jones's ankles were tied together. I'm being vague on the plot of this one for good reason. You have to go along for the ride with Detour. It's a classic film noir you should see if you're interested in that genre, and if you're not interested in that genre, you should be. Two years after Humphrey Bogart won his Best Actor Oscar for playing the scruffy riverboat captain Charlie Allnut in The African Queen, he re-teamed with director John Huston, and the duo made a ramshackle crime comedy called Beat the Devil. Partly produced by Bogart's own company, Santana Productions, this one blends plot elements from The Maltese Falcon with a rambling story about the quest for the gold mining rights to a uranium-rich piece of African land, and it's about the dodgy groups of criminals trying to con their way into getting the rights. The cast is good. Bogart plays a formerly rich, now poor guy called Billy. Gina Lollobrigida is his stunning wife Maria. Jennifer Jones plays Gwendolyn, a ditzy con artist. And Peter Lorre and Robert Morley are 2 of the other criminals, paralleling Peter Lorre and Sidney Greenstreet from The Maltese Falcon. Filmed on the Amalfi Coast of Italy, Beat the Devil, with a script by Truman Capote, is a silly escapade of a movie which is kind of amusing to watch. Rudolph Mate's D.O.A. has a hell of a kick-off, possibly one of the best in all of film noir. An accountant, Frank Bigelow, walks into a police station in San Francisco to report a murder. His own murder. The movie then slips into a flashback. Bigelow decides to take a week's vacation in San Francisco in spite of his girlfriend's misgivings. He ends up in a beatnik nightclub where he gets slipped a lethal, luminous toxin cocktail, a radioactive drink, and he doesn't know who did it or why. Bigelow, with only a couple of days to live, decides to investigate his own murder. Edmund O'Brien, who 4 years later won a Best Supporting Actor Oscar playing a sleazy press agent in The Barefoot Contessa, is great as Bigelow. The movie was filmed on location in San Francisco with a fairly low budget, and it's one of those movies that really demonstrates the importance of having a great story as a first principle in filmmaking. It really works. If you can avoid the 1998 remake with Dennis Quaid and Meg Ryan, it's really nothing compared to the original. George Romero's iconic horror movie, which took zombies out of the Caribbean and into Middle America, can't be praised enough.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
It generated an entire subgenre of horror cinema by making zombies a metaphor for unthinking social conformity, in the same way that Don Siegel's Invasion of the Body Snatchers was a metaphor for communism a decade before. Again shot on a low budget, this movie's documentary look and its unapologetic goriness was a game changer for horror. From Barbara and her brother Johnny in the Pennsylvania cemetery, to the climax featuring Dwayne Jones' Ben, Night of the Living Dead is a bucket list movie for horror fans. If you haven't seen it, you should, and it's in the public domain, so you've got no reason not to watch it.
And I offer one universal challenge to you all. Will all who wish to die please raise their hands? Approach, young heroes, I will take your names. To the first man who falls, I'll build a monument.
This may be the only public domain movie with a Best Actor Oscar-winning performance in it. Based on Eben Rostand's play and the New York theatre production of it, this one's got it all. Sword fights, romance, humour, wit and heart. Jose Ferrer as Cyrano is vividly wonderful. He deserved the Oscar for this one. I saved Cyrano de Bergerac for last because I have history with this movie. It's the film that made me skip school, the one and only time I ever skipped school. It was early December and my friend Spud and I wanted to see the movie on the midday matinee on Channel 7. This was in the days before home video. So I jigged school and headed over to Spud's place where we watched and enjoyed the movie. I spent the next 2 weeks leading up to the Christmas break promising my teachers that I would get a sick note from my parents for the day I took off. I never got the note, and the next year when school came back, nobody ever asked me for it. And for that reason, among many others, I love this movie. I love Cyrano's unrequited love for his cousin Roxanne, played wonderfully by Marla Powers, his nobility, the scene where he composes a ballad poem in the middle of a duel with a cocky nobleman, and his assistance of the handsome Christian, played by William Prince, who also loves Roxanne. You saw the same plot in the movie Roxanne with Steve Martin in it, but this is the original gangster. It's such an underappreciated movie. You should really see it. Again, low budget, but still it's got a magic about it that very few movies have. So there are my 5 recommendations. There are a lot of other public domain movies you can discover. Francis Ford Coppola's Dementia 13, Marlon Brando's rambling western One-Eyed Jacks, Roger Corman's Bucket of Blood and the original Little Shop of Horrors, and Vincent Price's The Last Man on Earth, which I mentioned in a previous video. So grab yourself some copies of these films and enjoy them without any guilt. Okay, so there's my little roundup of public domain movies. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you'll watch some of those films too, because they are really great. So anyway, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed it, please consider subscribing, hitting the like button and the bell notification, and let me know what your favourite public domain movies are. And there's one more thing. Stay safe and wear a mask. I'll see you next time.